If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
Showing a Slapshot, and for your existence in the game now, of course, Stevie Carlson played here for you. Was one of the Slapshot guys,
and never changed. He was probably the funniest of the three of them. I don't know if everybody, when they saw the movie, the funniest
Everybody's
guy
seen Slapshot.
was Steve. Steve was so hilarious. I remember one time he played center, and he had a couple of wingers that were all over the ice, two kids, and I brought them over and I said, listen, we got to start talking here. And I pointed to one winger and I said, you're Zig. And I said to the other guy, you're Zag. And then Steve said, you know what? And I'm lost.
Gene Ubriaco in studio hanging out with us, telling some old stories here. Anybody that wants to call, jump in. I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure Gene would love to hear from you. Are you shocked that Baltimore does not have a hockey team all these many years later?
I really am. When you think of it, that Baltimore had a hockey team in 1960, they started off and drew very well. I remember the fellows that owned the beer company owned the team.
Sure.
And here, lo and behold, in '67 they go to the expansion and they don't get it, but Philadelphia does, and there was no hockey team in sight there. They had the Ramblers or something in the Eastern League. And when you think of some of the cities that ended up into hockey,
well, but Philadelphia becoming a hockey. Yeah. 40 years later, it's a mecca.
A mecca. It's unbelievable, and I think that would have happened in Baltimore. It definitely would have happened in Baltimore because there was a hardcore group of people that loved the team. But after those people sold the team, it was always a tough time getting one owner. There'd be 20, 30 people would put the money up, but not one individual. And when it comes to winning teams,
somebody's got to be committed.
Somebody has to make a total commitment and want to win, do whatever it takes to win. And we're fortunate in Chicago. That's why when I left the Penguins, I really didn't even go back to looking for a job in the NHL. I pretty well had it. It took me years to make it as a player, years to make it as a coach. And then when I finally made it and things didn't go well, we made the playoffs. We had a good year.
Weren't you rumored to get the Tampa job when the expansion happened?
Close. The closest I came to the next job was the New York Rangers. And if you're going to believe this, but you won't believe this, but the night before I was at the draft, I was introduced to everyone in the New York Rangers office by Phil Esposito. I went through a 12-week. It was incredible, the interview they gave me, and they went through a whole bunch of people, and I ended up being the number one guy. But wouldn't you believe it? Somebody comes in from Madison Square Gardens, and they said, we like him, but we'd like to get a name. So they go up to Phil at the draft, and they asked Phil, talk to Quebec, the Quebec Nordique. They had a fellow named Bergeron.
Sure.
A pretty colorful guy. And they had asked them before that, would you trade for, we'd like to get Bergeron. They said, well, he's not available. Wouldn't you know it, the morning of the draft, Phil goes over to the table and says, are you guys, would you do anything with Bergeron? They said, sure. He says, but you have to make the decision within a couple of hours, okay? And we want a first-round pick. And when you know it, I was traded. They made a trade. They got Bergeron's rights to coach the team. And New York Rangers gave up a first-round pick for a coach. It's never been done since, or never will be done again. And I was the guy that got aced out of the job. No one knew that, but that's what happened. I missed out on the job because they traded for a first round.
And that was
pick.
What, maybe 91, 2, 3,
no,
that
would be 88, I believe, or 80, no, it would be 92.
92.
92.
And then you went and coached the Italian team.
Then I went and coached the Italian team in the Olympics in Albertville. And then I had these people got involved with me. They came to the Olympics. And I interviewed for the job there. And I tell everyone I finally met someone that can read. Because I had an extensive resume and plans and how I would run the team and all this thing. And there I've been. I've been with him ever since. And a fellow named Don Levin, who's, I think someday you'll probably see him in the National League. He's a pretty dynamic person. He just lost out on the Cubs. He tried to buy the Cubs, and I've been with him for 17 years. I take care of the manager and coach for him.
Nice. Chicago Wolves. Gene Ubriaco in studio. We'll step out. We'll take a break. 481.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.